I have heard thousands of voices break through my headset over the years. Panic, terror, desperation. It is part of the job when you are a 911 operator working the night shift in a city that never really sleeps. You learn to separate emotion from protocol. You learn to stay calm when someone else is falling apart. But there is one voice I never expected to hear on that line. The voice that used to whisper good morning against my shoulder. The voice that laughed at my terrible jokes. The voice of Sophia, my fiancée, the woman I was supposed to marry in 2 months. She was screaming into the phone that night, begging for help. But not for me. For another man. A man who was lying in our bed. Before I walk you through what happened that night, I need to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you have ever felt that moment when your whole world flips upside down in a single second, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear how this story ends. Because trust me, the ambulance was not the only thing I dispatched that night. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. I became a 911 operator 3 years ago. The dispatch center sits in a gray building, downtown, fluorescent lights, buzzing overhead, rows of computers glowing in the dim room. Every night I put on my headset, log into the system, and wait for the calls to come in. Car accidents on the interstate, domestic disputes in cramped apartments, medical emergencies where every second counts, panic attacks, overdoses, people at their absolute worst calling for help. The job taught me control. How to keep my voice steady when someone is screaming. How to extract information quickly. How to dispatch the right units without hesitation. Stay calm. Ask the right questions. Send help. That is the formula. That is what keeps people alive. But when my shift ended, I went home to something I thought was perfect. Sophia. We met 4 years ago at a coffee shop on 5th Street, one of those places with exposed brick walls and local art hanging crooked on the walls. She was sitting by the window papers spread across the table, red pen in hand. I ordered my usual black coffee and somehow ended up sitting at the table next to hers. She looked up, smiled, and asked if I knew anything about second-grade reading comprehension. I did not, but I stayed anyway. Sophia taught elementary school, 2nd grade. She had this way of talking about her students that made you believe in people again. How little Emma finally learned to read chapter books. How Marcus overcame his stutter during show and tell. She was patient, warm, the kind of person who baked cookies for neighbors and remembered everyone's birthday. 6 months ago, I proposed to her. Same coffee shop, same table by the window. I'd called ahead, asked the owner to hold it for us. When she said yes, her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, everything felt like it was falling into place. We set the date, booked the venue, a garden estate on the outskirts of the city with string lights and oak trees, sent out invitations, chose the menu, chicken or fish, 120 guests, 2 months away. Life felt complete. I worked nights, she worked days. We passed each other in the hallway, some mornings kissed goodbye and promised to make time on weekends. It was not perfect, but it was ours. Then, about 3 months ago, things started to shift. Sophia began spending more time on her phone. I would walk into the living room, and she would quickly tilt the screen away, smiling like nothing was wrong. When I asked what she was looking at, she said it was just a group chat with her teacher friends planning some school event. I believed her. Why would I not? She started going out more. Girls' nights, she called them. Drinks with coworkers, late dinners. I was working night shifts, so I did not think much of it. She deserved a social life. She deserved to unwind after dealing with 25 7-year-olds all day. But there were small things. Things I told myself I was imagining. One evening, I came home early. My shift had been canceled because of a scheduling error. I walked into the apartment and Sophia was sitting on the couch with her laptop open. The moment she heard the door, she slammed it shut. Her face went pale. Just for a second. Then she smiled and said she was watching some new thriller series everyone was talking about. I asked if she wanted to watch it together. She said she was tired. Maybe this weekend. I let it go. Another time I noticed she had changed her perfume. The light floral scent she always wore was gone, replaced by something heavier, spicier. When I mentioned it, she said she wanted to try something new. It did not seem like her, but I did not push. The schedule was brutal. I worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. most nights. She was up at 6, out the door by 7:30. We were like ships passing in the night, barely overlapping. I kept telling myself it was temporary. After the wedding, things would settle. We would find a rhythm. I was wrong. It was a Friday night, early October. I kissed Sophia goodbye before my shift. She was already in her pajamas, curled up on the couch with a book. She said she was going to bed early. She had a school meeting first thing Saturday morning. I told her I loved her. She said it back. I walked out the door. The dispatch center was quiet that night. A few noise complaints. Someone called about a drunk driver swerving on the highway. An elderly man had fallen in his bathroom and could not get up. Routine calls, nothing unusual. Then, at 1:30 in the morning, my screen lit up with an incoming call. The number flashed across the display. I recognized it immediately. It was our home number. My stomach dropped. Why was Sophia calling 911? Was someone breaking in? Was there a fire? Was she hurt? I answered, forcing my voice into the calm, professional tone I'd been trained to use. 911, what is your emergency? The voice that came through the line was Sophia's, but she was not talking to me. Her voice was high-pitched, frantic sobbing. He is not breathing. Oh God, he is not breathing. Please, you have to help him. My brain stuttered. Who was she talking about? I pressed the headset tighter against my ear, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. Ma'am, I need you to calm down. Tell me what happened. Sophia was gasping for air between words. We were, and then he grabbed his chest and collapsed. Please send someone now. He is turning blue. We were just what my mind raced trying to piece it together, but nothing made sense. I swallowed hard and forced myself to stay in operator mode. What is your location? She rattled off our address, the apartment we shared, the place I had left just 2.5 hours ago. What is your relationship to the patient? I asked, the words feeling like glass in my throat. There was a pause, a tiny, terrible pause. Then she said, please just send help. Is there anyone else in the house with you? I asked. No, just us, please. He is not breathing. Just us. She did not know. She had no idea she was talking to me. To her, I was just another operator, a stranger on the other end of the line, and she was telling me there was a man in our apartment, a man who was dying. I had to keep going. I had to do my job. I typed the address into the system, my fingers trembling. Medic Unit 14, respond to 247 Maple Street, Apartment 3B. Possible cardiac arrest, CPR in progress. The radio crackled with a response. Unit 14 en route. I turned my attention back to Sophia. I need you to start chest compressions. Place your hands in the center of his chest. Push hard and fast. 30 compressions, then 2 breaths. Through the phone, I could hear her moving. The rustle of fabric, a thud as she dropped to her knees, then the rhythmic sound of compressions. She was counting out loud, her voice shaking. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the background, I heard something else, a faint voice, a man's voice. Stay with me, Derek. Derek. The name burned into my mind like a brand. Derek. She was doing CPR on someone named Derek, in our apartment, in our bed. I kept talking, kept guiding her through the steps, even though every word felt like swallowing shards of glass. Keep going. Do not stop. The paramedics are almost there. Sirens wailed in the background, growing louder. I heard pounding on the door. Sophia's voice, still panicked, yelling, "In here, please, in here!" The sound of heavy boots, voices shouting medical jargon, equipment clattering. Then the call went dead. I sat there staring at the screen. My hands were shaking. My coworker at the next station glanced over. "Hey, you good? That was a rough one." I nodded, not trusting my voice. I pulled up the dispatch notes. The follow-up report was already coming through. Patient Derek Martinez, age 32, condition stable, suspected heart attack, transported to Memorial Hospital. Derek Martinez was alive. Sophia had saved him, and I had helped her do it. My supervisor walked over, putting a hand on my shoulder. "Nathan, you handled that well. Take a break if you need to." I stood up, my legs unsteady, and walked to the break room. It was empty. Dark. I sat down in a plastic chair, staring at the vending machine humming in the corner. My mind was racing. How long had this been going on? Who was Derek? How many times had he been in our apartment? In our bed, I checked my phone. No missed calls from Sophia, no texts. She had not called me her fiancé when there was an emergency. She had called 911. For him. I had 2 more hours left in my shift. I could not go home. Not yet. Not to that place. So I sat there in the dark and made a decision. I opened my phone and searched for 24-hour moving truck rentals. Found a U-Haul location 10 minutes away, available immediately. I booked a 16-footer for pickup at 7 a.m., right when my shift ended. I was not going to cry. I was not going to scream. I was going to do what I had been trained to do, assess the situation, make a decision, take action. Sophia had made her choice. Now I was going to make mine. At 7 a.m. I clocked out, drove straight to the U-Haul lot. The truck was waiting, big, orange, smelling like rubber and diesel. I signed the paperwork, took the keys, and drove it back to the apartment. The street was quiet. Early morning light filtered through the trees. I parked the truck in front of the building and walked up the stairs. My keys felt heavy in my hand. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was silent. Sophia had not come home yet. She was probably still at the hospital, sitting by Derek's bedside holding his hand. I walked into the bedroom. The bed was a mess, sheets tangled, pillows on the floor. There was a smell in the air that was not mine. Cologne. Expensive. Unfamiliar. On the nightstand sat 2 wine glasses, one with a faint lipstick stain on the rim. I did not touch anything. I just stood there, taking it in. This was real. This had happened. I went to the closet and pulled out my suitcases, started packing, clothes, books, my guitar, toiletries, everything that was mine. I moved through the apartment methodically, room by room, separating my life from hers. At 8:30, I heard the front door open. Footsteps. "Nathan, are you home?" Sophia's voice, hoarse, exhausted. She walked into the bedroom and froze when she saw me standing there with a suitcase in my hand. "Nathan, what are you doing?" I did not look at her, just kept folding a shirt. Packing. Packing. Why? What is going on? I finally turned to face her. She looked terrible. Same clothes from the night before. Mascara smudged under her eyes, hair tied back in a messy ponytail. She looked like she had been crying for hours. "How is Derek?" I asked. The color drained from her face. What did you say?" "Derek Martinez," I said slowly. "Age 32, suspected heart attack, transported to Memorial Hospital at 1:47 a.m., stable condition." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She took a step back, gripping the doorframe. "How do you—" "I was the operator, Sophia. When you called 911 for him, I was on the other end of that line." Silence. The kind of silence that crushes you. She tried to speak. "Nathan, I can explain—" I cut her off. "Explain what? That you were with another man in our bed, that when he had a heart attack you did not call me your fiancé, you called 911, that I had to guide my own fiancé through CPR to save her lover's life." Her face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "It was a mistake. It meant nothing. It meant enough for you to risk everything," I said. "It meant enough for you to bring him here, to our home." "I love you," she sobbed. "We can work through this. Please." I zipped up the suitcase. "You called 911 for him. You did not call me. That tells me everything I need to know about who you really love." She grabbed my arm. "Please do not do this." The wedding. Our plans. I gently pulled my arm away. "The wedding is off. You can keep the ring. Consider it payment for the show you put on last night." I picked up the suitcase and walked past her. She followed me, still crying, still pleading. I made 3 trips, suitcases, boxes, my desk, my bookshelf. Each time I walked past her, she begged me to stay, but I did not stop. On the last trip, I stood in the doorway and looked back at her. She was sitting on the couch, her face buried in her hands. "I am sorry," she whispered. "Me too," I said. I closed the door behind me, walked down the stairs, loaded the last box into the truck, started the engine, and drove away. I did not look back. I texted my supervisor. Need to take some days off. Family emergency. The reply came quickly. Take all the time you need. I drove to a motel downtown, one of those cheap places with peeling paint and a neon sign that buzzed at night. I checked in for a week, unloaded the truck, returned it. Then I went back to the motel room and sat on the edge of the bed. For the first time since that phone call, I let myself feel it, the weight of what had happened. I did not cry. I just sat there breathing, letting it wash over me. It was over. The first few days were a blur. I mostly slept. My body and mind were exhausted, drained from the emotional whiplash. I called in sick to work for a week. My phone buzzed constantly. Sophia. Over and over. I did not answer. I let the calls go to voicemail. Eventually, I turned off the ringer. Her texts came through in waves. At first they were apologies, then explanations, then desperate pleas. One message caught my attention. Derek and I are done. It is over. Please come back. I deleted it. Too little too late. I started taking care of the practical things, called the landlord, told him I was moving out. Sophia could keep the apartment or find somewhere else. I did not care. Called the wedding venue, canceled everything, lost the deposit, did not matter. Texted family and a few close friends, kept it simple. Wedding is off. We are going separate ways. My best friend Marcus showed up at the motel on day 4, knocked on the door holding 2 coffees from the gas station down the street. We sat in the parking lot leaning against his car, not saying much. I cannot believe this happened, he finally said. Neither can I replied. But it did. He offered to let me stay with him. I declined. I needed space, time to think. But I appreciated it. It helped knowing someone cared. After a week, I went back to work. Walking into the dispatch center felt strange. My coworkers were kind. No one asked for details. My supervisor had briefed them on my personal situation. They just offered quiet support. A nod, a pat on the shoulder. Small gestures that meant everything. The first shift back was hard. Every time the phone rang, my heart jumped. What if it was her number again? But it never was. I handled the calls. A domestic dispute. A car accident on the bridge, an elderly man who had fallen and could not get up. Each call reminded me why I did this job, to help people, to make a difference. Here in this room with the buzzing lights and glowing screens, I knew exactly what to do. There was no ambiguity, no betrayal, just problems and solutions. Someone called for help. I provided it. Clear, simple, purpose. Over the next few weeks, work became my therapy. Every time I dispatched help to someone in crisis, I felt like I was dispatching a little bit of healing to myself. I found a new apartment, a studio downtown near the river. Small, clean, empty. I bought new furniture, a bed, a couch, a desk. I hung a few pictures on the walls, not of Sophia, just landscapes, neutral, calm. It was mine, just mine. 3 months after that night, I sat in my apartment on a quiet evening. The window was open. City sounds drifted in. Car horns, distant music, the hum of life continuing. I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the pain, the decision to leave. And I realized something. I had learned lessons I would carry forever. Trust is the foundation of everything. Without it, there is no relationship, no future. Just a house built on sand waiting to collapse. Red flags exist for a reason. I should have listened to my gut when things felt off. The phone, the perfume, the late nights. My instincts were trying to tell me something and I ignored them. Professional skills translate to personal life. At work, I assess situations, make decisions, and take action. That night, I did the same thing in my personal life. I did not wallow. I did not beg. I simply acted. And it saved me. Sometimes the emergency is not the crisis itself. It is knowing when to walk away, knowing when to dispatch help to yourself. Sophia tried to reach out a few more times through mutual friends. I declined. I heard through the grapevine that she moved to a different city, a fresh start somewhere else. Derek recovered fully. They did not stay together. I felt nothing when I heard that. No satisfaction, no bitterness. Just indifference. It was not my problem anymore. I still work as a 911 operator, still save lives every shift. But now I understand something I did not before. The first life I saved that night was not Derek's, it was my own. I am not bitter about love. I still believe in connection, in partnership, in finding someone who deserves your trust, just with the right person, at the right time. For now, I'm focusing on myself. And that is enough. They train us to handle emergencies, to stay calm when others panic, to dispatch help when someone's world is falling apart. But nobody trains you for the emergency that hits closest to home. That night, I dispatched an ambulance for a stranger in my bed. Then, I dispatched a moving truck for myself. Best decision I ever made. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is not saving someone else, it is saving yourself. And knowing when to walk away is not giving up. It is dispatching yourself to a better future. My phone rings. Another 911 call. I take a breath, put on my headset, and answer. 911, what is your emergency? Life goes on. And I am ready. So let me ask you, have you ever had to walk away from something you thought was forever? Drop your story in the comments. I would love to hear how you found the strength to move forward. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories about real people navigating the hardest moments of their lives. And share this with someone who might need to hear it today, someone who is wondering if they have the courage to save themselves. Thank you for listening. I hope wherever you are in your journey, you find the strength to dispatch yourself toward the life you deserve. Stay strong out there.